Hello everybody. And I've been thinking about how can I explain the big important factors to people better in my videos. So I've been trying to do that, and I want to call this video Breed Better Neocaridina Shrimp, or Breeding the Best Neocaridina Shrimp. And I've broke it down into 3 different phases. And so let's see how this turns out. All successful shrimp keepers are shrimp breeders. So this video is not just for folks who are trying to sell shrimp or just trying to breed shrimp to sell. If your shrimp are happy, they're breeding. So that means all of us who have successful shrimp tanks are shrimp breeders. Over the course of the last 5 or 6 years that I've been breeding and keeping shrimp, there are some parts that I got right and definitely some parts that I got wrong. Over the years, I've narrowed down the process of breeding and keeping shrimp to 3 main phases. These 3 phases are where you get your shrimp from, making more shrimp, and then culling your shrimp. The first thing we're going to talk about is where do you get your shrimp at? This alone has the biggest impact on if you're going to have success initially. You can have every single thing set up absolutely perfect. Have the best shrimp set up known to man. But if you get weak, stressed out, diseased, and dying shrimp from where you get your shrimp from, then your chances of success drop significantly. And even if you get your shrimp to live, you're probably setting yourself up for failure in the future when it comes to quality of your shrimp, and I'll explain. The biggest factor when it comes to all this, when it comes to Neocaridina, is imported shrimp versus homebred tank raised shrimp from a breeder. Not saying all homebred shrimp are winners. There's plenty of bad ones out there. But I feel like I can safely say most any shrimp that is imported is an inferior shrimp when compared to a shrimp that is from a home breeder. We'll explain how these shrimp end up on the other side of the world and what it means to you to buy an imported shrimp. So this is the life of an imported shrimp. Imagine yourself. You're born probably somewhere in Asia in a huge pond or vat with thousands upon thousands of other shrimp that are festering with diseases. You and all your thousands upon thousands of friends get scooped up and sorted by grades. You then get packed up and sent to the other side of the world. Boats, airplanes and boats and trucks and what have you. By the time you get there in a bag with hundreds of other shrimp in your same bag, a good portion of your friends are probably already dead from stress and disease. You gotta remember, this is a business, and the importer is just trying to keep you alive long enough that you can be shipped off again, either to a customer or yet another seller. So by the time you end up in your new home, you've been shipped across the world, crammed in a bag with hundreds of other shrimp, where a huge portion have died. Horrible diseased water conditions. Who knows how many different water parameters and temperature swings you've gone through to endure. Many times, an imported shrimp is already knocking on death's door by the time you get it. Heck, I bet almost half of all the shrimp that started the journey didn't even make it alive to be sold retail. These shrimp are imported by the thousands for almost nothing per shrimp. Well less than $1 a shrimp. And as such is treated, I guess you could say, as throwaways. If they get, say, 10,000 shrimp for, these are just made up numbers, if they get 10,000 shrimp for $5,000, if they didn't get even half to live long enough to sell to you, then they're making money easy. That's all these importers are trying to do now. Just like home breeders, there's vast differences in quality of importers. You gotta remember that too. That's all these importers are trying to do. Bring as many shrimp over that they're paying pennies per shrimp and get enough to live that they can make money off of to sell. Even if you get lucky and have your imported shrimp live, and even if your shrimp are jaw-droppingly beautiful, which some of these more expensive, really nice imported shrimp can be, don't expect the same quality of shrimp when these guys start to breed out. These shrimp come from ponds with thousands upon thousands of shrimp. There might be a pond, let's say it's for red shrimp, it's just a red shrimp pond. Let's say there's 100,000 shrimp in this red pond. Only the absolute best of the very best, a very small percentage, are sold as fire red by reputable sellers. There's some that will sell you anything called fire red, but that's not the point I'm making here. But the shrimp population they come from might only have 1,000 fire reds out of 100,000 in the pond. So while the shrimp you got are amazing looking, their genetic background is anything but amazing. If you are like me and cruise around Facebook groups, I know I see this all the time. Someone with absolutely stunning painted fire red shrimp. Then they ask, why are all the babies they made such lower quality? They're such faded colors. Why? And then you ask, what about the other 99,000 shrimp? Those are the ones you see on eBay and other places for cheap. The ones where you see like 40 shrimp for 60 bucks. That's where those end up. So remember when I told you that I'd done some things wrong? Well, in the past, and hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes. This is one of those mistakes I made. At the time, because all my other lines I'd got from good homebred shrimp for mostly. And then when I tried to get black rose shrimp, I could not find black rose shrimp anywhere homebred. So I was talking around, looking around, ended up getting shrimp that were imports. When they're shipped to me, they come in newspaper, wrapped up in newspaper with Chinese writing on it. So that's a pretty good sign that they're imports. But these, I think it was 30 some shrimp is what I got that were imports. And I ended up getting about 14 to live. I had to go through all kinds of meds, antibiotics. They were full of some of them I just flushed down the toilet because they were full of fungus. Not the green fungus, but their undercarriages were full of white tufts. They didn't have the Elabiopsidae, but they're sick shrimp. I ended up getting about half to live, maybe half. I was like, all right, we're good. Then those guys started breeding out, and not even half of them were keepers. It was garbage. So I've got a lot of cool shrimp from that purchase by letting them breed out, and with the skittles and culls, and I got all kinds of cool shrimp. But as far as having actual good black rose shrimp, less than half. Might have been like 30%, maybe a third of them were good keepers. The other story I had to tell is kind of a funny one. It's from a long time ago, before I even started my website, is when I was just selling. People would watch my videos and say, hey, I want to buy your shrimp. They'd email me, and I was all right. And they'd go back and forth. And this lady bought 10 orange shrimp off me. And, it was one of them people that are telling me all the time how they're doing, and they're doing good. It was a couple months in, and she was starting to see some babies even, because I sent her some buried ones, and she had everything good. Her tank was set up right. Everything was doing good. Her shrimp were doing good. And she says she got impatient, and she wanted to have a tank full of shrimp like she sees on the YouTube channel. So she goes somewhere, I think she said it was on eBay, and gets, I think it was 40 shrimp for 60 bucks shipped. I mean, you can't expect a whole lot for that. Then she lets me know that not only did all those shrimp die immediately, none of them lived a week, but then all the shrimp that I'd sent her that had already started breeding, they were all dying, and she was left with 0 shrimp. Now, stuff like this has happened many times, but this is one that stands out to me because the lady she emails me back and asking if I can do better on price at the time. And at the time I was selling my orange Neos for $4 a piece. I think that's still what I sell them for. And she's like, I can go to eBay and get 40 of them for $60. It's like, yeah, and that killed them all. And then all those ones you got for real cheap didn't even live. And she was dead set. She was super pissed. She was cursing me because I wouldn't sell her shrimp for so cheap. My orange shrimp aren't some throwaway commodity that just come over on a plane, and who knows how many different sellers they've been passed around, and what you got left are the bottom of the barrel crap shrimp that are sick and horrible quality that they're selling off for less than $1 a piece, or right at $1 a piece retail. That's not something you want to try to start your shrimp tank with. So, if you buy a homebred shrimp from a good breeder, these homebred shrimp have a completely easier journey into your tank than any imported shrimp will. Mind you, it's a very important, I say, good breeder. There's definitely some not good ones, but from a good breeder. They were raised in an aquarium. All these homebred shrimp, they were raised in an aquarium. Inside, not in a tropical rainforest full of diseases. They have been culled and cared for generations. You're never going to have a shrimp line that never needs culled, but a good solid line from a good home breeder will always produce better shrimp than any imported shrimp. A good home breeder will always have better shrimp than imported shrimp, even if that imported shrimp has higher initial quality. Not to mention the biggest factor, which is disease and stress from being shipped all over the world 1, 2, 3, or even more times, depending on how many times these shrimp pass hands. For example, the shrimp I sell are born and raised in my tanks. They have been culled for generation after generation. They get scooped out of the tank they were born in, bagged up and shipped within the U.S. Usually only in mail for 2 or 3 days, and they're there. They have completed their journey to their new home. The bottom line is better shrimp are homebred and supremely, I mean, I can't stress this enough, supremely homebred shrimp are supremely more healthy shrimp. So now that we've talked about where to source your shrimp from a home breeder, the next step is what we're all trying to do every day, and that is to make more shrimp. This is the step that never ends. I'm not going to get into great detail on this part because that's essentially what this entire channel is all about. The actual breeding of shrimp and how to keep shrimp. We're always learning how to better care for our shrimp. And generally speaking, the better we have everything dialed in, the happier our shrimp are. The more they are going to breed. Happy shrimp is a breeding shrimp. That's what makes us all shrimp breeders. And then the biggest tip, I'm going to mention the biggest tip I have for this. The biggest tip I have for Neos when it comes to making more shrimp is that perfect water parameters is way, way, way less important than consistent water parameters. The one thing shrimp love more, even more than perfect, is consistency. Neos can adapt to a huge range of water parameters. The thing that they hate the most, more than anything, is change. The third phase that I'm calling of keeping and breeding shrimp is culling shrimp. This can either be very important, it can either be one of the most important things you have, or not even important enough at all. Not even important enough to do. Depends on what your goal is with keeping shrimp. What's your goal shrimping? If you're just keeping shrimp to keep them and don't really care about the quality of the colors, and you just want to let shrimp be shrimp and do their thing, then you don't even need to worry about culling. Culling is completely optional if that's your route you're taking. And then if you don't plan on selling your shrimp, but you still want them to look pretty good, you still want them to have consistent color, and you don't want to all go to crap, then you're going to want to take out the oddballs and the ones that are really, really low quality just to maintain what you have. Now, if your aim is to sell shrimp, then you have a responsibility to your buyers to make the very best shrimp possible. So that makes culling very, very, very important if you're selling. This involves not only taking the oddballs out and the obviously bad ones, but also removing shrimp that, while pretty decent, are not quite the quality you're going for. That is how you make a shrimp line better, by pulling out all shrimp that fall below a certain threshold that you have set for that line. If you're a good home breeder and trying to breed fire reds to sell as fire reds, you need to take every shrimp out that is not fire red. If it's not a perfect fire red shrimp, don't do it. I know a lot of people do this. They have a whole tank of reds, anywhere from fire red to cherry, and they just keep them all in one tank, and as someone buys fire reds, they pick out the best ones, sell them as fire reds. Someone buys cherries, they pick out the worst ones. And if someone buys sakuras, they pick out somewhere in the middle. You don't want to do that. If you're just selling out of a shrimp tank based on grade, then you're not any better than the guy importing and selling sorted grades that come out of the big pond. As far when the customers buy your shrimp and then they breed out for your customers, that is big. That is big to me. When you're selling shrimp, quality is king. Remember this. This is very important. Many, many, many people out there can throw Neos in their tap water and make hundreds and hundreds of shrimp. It is the quality of shrimp that will set you apart. Quality is king. So there you have it. I broke down what I am calling the 3 phases of breeding and keeping shrimp. All successful shrimp keepers are, in fact, shrimp breeders. There we go again with that one. That's a big point. I've had a couple conversations that are kind of funny with different people, either on YouTube video comments and emails with customer support. So if you're a successful shrimp keeper, you will be a shrimp breeder. You will be. So the 3 phases. Selecting where you get your shrimp. It has a huge impact on your chances of success. Always, always when possible, get your shrimp from a good, reputable home breeder. If you're in the U.S., check out my website, markshellyaquatics.com. You will always get healthier shrimp, and almost always will get shrimp that breed more true than their intended colors when you get your homebred shrimp versus imported shrimp. Making more shrimp, again, that's what we're all trying to do every day. It could also be called making your shrimp as happy as possible. Remember that a happy shrimp is a shrimp that is breeding and making more shrimp. And I feel the biggest, most important aspect of this phase is consistency. And then last but not least, well, if you don't care about shrimp quality, culling is least, because you don't even need to do it. But if you're into selling, this is just as important, probably the most important aspect of it. Because I want to think of this. Let me finish the culling part. Shrimp. For some, this is not needed at all, but if you're shrimping to sell, culling is just as important as the others. That's what I was just saying. And I arranged these 3 phases in the order that you need to consider them. So if you're new to getting shrimp, you need to make sure you get your shrimp from a good, homebred, reliable place. The second phase is making more shrimp. And that's what we're trying to do all the time, trying to care for them and make them happy and make them breed. Water changes, water parameters, plants, rocks, substrates, that all goes into that. That's what I'm calling making more shrimp. Then culling shrimp, taking out the bad ones. That's what it is when it comes to shrimping. If you're trying to shrimp to sell, you got to take out the bad ones. There's no way around it. There's no line that doesn't need culled. They all, no matter how good of a line you have, it will eventually need culling. So hopefully you guys learned something out of this. I've been trying to do my videos a little better here lately. I've had some time off work, and I've found that I can pass along information better if I write myself a script. So that's what I've been doing lately. There's some kind of block. I'm a pretty good writer, a bad speaker, and I can read all right. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.